This is how we book 196 plus calls for agencies with a simple two-step funnel. There's a two-way street to this. The first part is the traffic part. So what we do is we run cold ads and retargeting ads to a two-step funnel, and what you need is only $500 per month in ad budget if you already need that. Like sometimes you don't even need that amount because we can get leads for very, very cheap. So this entire process, before we get into it, is getting us a cost per lead of 39 euros, which comes down to maybe $42, $43. You might think to yourself, oh, that's quite on the high end, Stefan. But to be honest, we're getting a cost per book call of 62 euros, which comes down to around $65, $66, which is super cheap. That means that a qualified call is that amount. We don't really care about the cost per lead, to be honest. Now, the cost per acquisition is somewhere around 350, the ROAS being 11.54, meaning the total spend of this entire strategy that I'm going to be showing you today is 12,200 spent in ads and a total return of 144,000. So let's dive into this. Let's get into the exact strategy on how we are able to book this amount of calls that are qualified and get this amount of return for agencies like your own, for example. So to start off with the first thing, what we need to do is we need to have a traffic source that's so good that can make sure that we target the right audience and that the right audience comes to the specific page, or in this case, the funnel that we're using. In this case, it's going to be a lead form that we're going to be implementing for this agency specifically. So we keep it even more simpler. And what we do is we run these types of ads. We have two versions of these ads. And you can find these ads if you go and look at glowmarketing.sa. This is one of our clients, Nico and Milan. Shout out to you guys, doing an amazing job with the agency. They have a beauty and med spa agency focused on potential clients in Norway and Sweden. And they've been able to scale it up to this point where they're running so many ads that everyone knows their brand, everyone knows who they are in the market, and they're running ads specifically like these ones where they have leverage of one of their clients. One of their clients is a really big name in the space, and that client is being leveraged fully where she even creates ads for them. So this client provides them the leverage of when they run the ad as kind of like a UGC ad towards the market. People recognize her. Other med spas and beauty clinics recognize this person, and they think to themselves, whoa, let me just listen a little bit more to what they have to say. Why? Because they've used leverage in order to acquire the eyeballs of potential clients. And when you do that, and we combine that also when once they've seen it, you also give them the exact social proof of other clients. Let me give you an example of one of those ads. One of those ads is one like this, where we do interviews of clients where you've gotten results with them. When you give them that on the retargeting, when you give this to people that have already engaged with your brand in some sort of way, the thing you get then is these results. Because what's going to happen when you get the eyeballs of your ideal client? Well, they're going to become interested. And when they become interested, they're going to learn more about you by wanting to find more about you. So they're going to go to your Instagram, they're going to go maybe to your website. And what we do with the retargeting strategy is we retarget people that are on the Instagram that have engaged with the ad or viewed the ad or liked the ad or done anything with the ad, and potentially people that have also visited the website, or in this case, in their case, visited the lead form but haven't opted into the lead form. So we just revert them back with these testimonial ads to actually do an opt-in or book a call in their case, which is an incredible strategy because you can keep in mind these people that we are targeting, even if it's a lead gen type thing or an e-commerce agency or a coaching agency or whatever type of agency that you have, if you have ads that are running, you have AI working for you 24/7. And if you implement the systems that we've also implemented with them, you not only have AI running in terms of ads for you, but you also have AI working 24/7 for you to create new scripts, to make sure that the scripts are on point, to make sure that the data is on point, to make sure that everything on the back end is actually doing its work without you having to do more. Because why work more when you can do less and get more? So that's exactly what we've done with them. We have the front end, which is the traffic on the cold ads and the retargeting ads. But then we get into the exact strategy, which is their lead form strategy. Now, you might think to yourself, doesn't lead form actually give you like worse quality leads? Well, in all honesty, the lead form, if you position it as a qualifier, it will actually give you better leads and for a cheaper cost per lead, and even give you higher quantity with higher quality. So the thing that we've done with them is we have a couple of questions that we ask. So for example, one question is now, how many clinics do you have? And then another, type of questions is the standard questions that we have, which is the name, phone number, email, and their first name. So we ask these questions, and the first question, the qualifying question, is the question, okay, how many clinics, pretty much do you have? Because we want to make sure that they're not just someone who started yesterday, but we do want to be very harsh on them and disqualify people that are just starting out, right? Because if they answer the first question, which is, I'm just starting out, then we already know kind of what conversation is going to be. And that's, in their case, not the ICP, not the client that they actually want to approach. So we can already disqualify them by actually looking at these people and then saying, you know what, we're not going to talk with you. That is the entire system that we've created for them, where it's so simple. We have the ad created with AI. AI is running it, sending it to the lead form. Lead form actually gets the people qualified. Then on the thank you page, pretty much what can happen is the people can actually go ahead and then booking their call, or they will get called by the setter. And the setter is pretty much a regular setter, so someone that actually calls the people, or it's an AI setter. So what happens, and I will share that with you in a second, is that when leads come in, leads like this, as you can see on your screen right now, they always going to have the phone number. And when they have the phone number, the caller, the setter, can actually go here, look at these leads and say, you know what, I'm going to actually go ahead and call these leads, follow up with them, and make sure that they're, coming on the call. But we also have an AI setter that we are now, pretty much implementing with them, making sure that the person actually doesn't have to be there, an actual real life person doesn't have to be there, because the AI setter will pick up the person and the lead when they come through to book them into a call. Now, when it comes to this entire process, not only will the setter be there and the AI setter to actually follow with the people and call them and make sure that they're getting messaged in any type of language, we also have a booking page and a confirmation page where they get sent to, so they can actually book their call and then go to a confirmation page, which is one of the confirmation pages that, I've seen so many people now using, but we have actually, set up in the beginning. And it's a confirmation page where you get a short confirmation video explaining them pretty much and walking them through like what the process is that will be happening on the call. And then actually just making sure that they are qualified to go on the call, making sure that we let them know that they need to show up on the call, and also showcasing testimonials on that specific page, so people actually see that we know what we're talking about, that we have the social proof to explicitly tell them, like, this is what we're going to be doing on a call. You need to show up, increases show up rate, increases social proof, increases the chances of them wanting to work with us. So the entire process ends up bringing them to Zoom, and the entire process, as I said, gives them, and if I get the tracking sheet right now that we've been using from the beginning, you can see that we spent about 12.2K pretty much. We've gotten 309 leads, 196 calls, as I said, and 44 pretty much people that have showed up. These are not all people that are tracked, but these are the people that have pretty much been noted down here. And then we have the sales, 34 sales in total, and then let's say 140,000 pretty much that has been in return on their stats. So as I said, like, the pages that you're seeing are very simple. The pages that you're looking at are very simple, and it's easy to replicate, but you need to know and understand how you can actually speak to this audience, like, to the T. In order for you to book these calls, you cannot just go ahead and launch ads and expect them to work, because here's the thing. We have launched more than 800 ads for them. Now, some have worked, some have not. We've tested a lot. I'm not saying you need to test out 800 ads, because that's not what this is about. What this is about is you understanding how simple a funnel can be that you can use to actually implement for your agency and get yourself clients on autopilot that are pretty much coming towards you instead of you having to go to them. So if you're an agency right now, you're looking at this and you're thinking, how can I implement this for myself? Well, I'll tell you how you can implement it for yourself. You start on the front end. So on the front end, you start with the traffic, understanding your niche. So let's say if you're in the, let's say, roofing niche, let's say if you're in the solar niche, let's say if you're in the real estate niche, or in the coaching niche, coaching agency niche. What you can do in the front end is really hyper target your audience, because what they're doing is they're mentioning the names of the audience. You can say Skönhetskliniker, that's pretty much beauty salons in Sweden. We're hyper targeting the niche in the ad copy. Once we hyper target them in the ad copy, Meta's AI is going to understand that we want to target that specific audience. When we target that specific audience, what we then need to do is we need to trigger them in some way. The way that we do that here is by mentioning the word AI. So you can see automatic AI bookings, right? and paid clients booking right in your calendar. That's one trigger point that we use to make sure that we are triggering the people on clicking on the video and getting to that point of where they're actually going ahead and watching the video that we want to showcase to them in the ad. Once we've gotten their attention, we want to go ahead and give them a guarantee. So they are guaranteeing, paying clients for their beauty salon, for the beauty salon. Otherwise, you will get a compensation. Plus, they will work for free until you get actually a good return, 100% risk-free, right? So they have a risk reversal, what Alex Hormozi talks about, right? In 100 million offers, you need to have a risk reversal. What's the risk reversal for me as a potential beauty salon to work with you guys? So if you're in a different niche, you can use these principles. Have the hook, have the hyper target of the audience, give them a specific trigger on why they should stop scrolling and not go to another ad. Then give them a specific risk reversal guarantee, and then give them a call to action. What do you want them to do? Click on the ad, fill out your information, and he will be in touch with you soon. That's where you begin. And that's where a lot of agency owners go wrong, because what you need to do is you need to make sure that your niche and your offer and your messaging is pretty much on point. So you know who your niche is, who your ICP is, what your offer is, and what you're giving them, and including what your guarantee is towards that in the messaging of that niche. And then together with that, you need to also have an understanding of the message you want to bring across to them and what you can and cannot use. For example, talking for ourselves specifically, we have a specific risk reversal guarantee, which is we get you an X amount of clients or we continue working until you get those clients, right? Now, they do the same thing. They're taking the exact same principles that we're using for our business and taking that for their business, and it's working great. So then what we've done is pretty much once we've taken the niche, the offer, the messaging, and then understood those things, we've launched the ads, created them with AI, started replicating pretty much the winners, making more winners and launching more of those. And then from there on out, pretty much just hyper targeting and making sure that the lead form that you see here is hyper personalized as well towards their niche, showcasing social proof, where we mention that we want to have 300 plus clinics that we're helping, and that they can get 30 to 55 new paying customers every single month. So once we show that and we showcase that, they can get this amount of clients, they get intrigued and they think to themselves, wow, I want to get those amount of clients as well. Plus, keep in mind, they've seen the leverage of the client on the front end of the cold ad, and they've seen the social proof, which ultimately leads to them trusting and their trust factor increasing to make sure that they go further towards the ender step of the funnel. So that being said, then once you have the lead form, then once you've set that up, you need to make sure that you have either a setter or either an AI setter, which you can do through GoHighLevel conversations AI, or you can do through a point-wise. Make sure that you have that setter implemented so they can actually follow up with the people without you having to be there constantly. Because if a lead opts in on Saturday evening, you won't be able to call the lead unless you have an AI bot making sure that they are following up with. So once you have that, and once you have the AI setter pretty much going through them and making sure that they're qualified, it books them on the call without you having to be there. And on the other note, you also have another setter, which is a real life person, making sure that the bot is doing its thing and making sure that they are leading up and following up with the leads that are coming through to be able to book them if they fall off on that process with the bot. So that's the stage on what you can do. And then, as I said, you can pretty much just replicate the lead form. You can replicate the booking page. You can replicate the confirmation page. And then they get on the Zoom call. We have usually a 2-call close strategy that we use, that we've also helped Nikon and Milan implement, and that they are now using to leverage everything completely for their business and pretty much make their business the best med spa beauty salon agency in the Scandinavian market. Now, with that being said, I hope this gives you a little bit more insight in terms of how you can start implementing this for your own agency. I see a lot of agency owners struggling and looking at different methods of outreach and trying different ways and really doing their best. And I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. Because all of these people that you see online are telling you that you need to do the sorcery outreach method or need to do a specific method and then send like 2,000 of these messages in order for you to get like 3 booked calls. I don't blame you. I blame them. And in order for you to actually make sure that you get the results, I really, really, really encourage you to implement strategies like this to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck whilst AI is doing the work, whilst you get the most quality people without even having to spend more than $500 on a simple 2-step funnel. Because as I told you, and as you've seen, the results speak for themselves. Cost per lead, 39. Cost per book call, 62. Cost per acquisition, 350. Imagine paying 350 for a client that comes on for an upfront plus retainer. With the upfront, you already, get that out of the way. The upfront can be somewhere between like 1.5K to 3K. For them, it's between that range. And then a retainer of, let's say, 1,500 a month. You already blast that out of the water when it comes down to the cost per acquisition. You're already making a minimum of 5 return on the cost per acquisition pretty much when you get the client onboarded. Plus, with a ROAS like this, skill is endless. You cannot pretty much get towards a point where you cannot scale anymore. Because the thing is, there will be enough businesses for everyone to actually get a hold of, unless you actually don't know what you're doing and you start doing outreach and then spam these people, and then they might think, you're just spamming me and you're not getting me, anywhere further in the sales process. They might just leave you and you just say like, that is what it is, which is exactly what happens when you start doing cold outreach on these people without leveraging systems smartly like this two-step funnel. With that being said, guys, that's pretty much it. I just want to provide you value on this channel, as you guys know. Hope this gives you a little bit more insights on what we've been able to do for Nikon and Milan. And as I told you, the results speak for themselves. If you take a look at pretty much like times here, this was in June. Like we were booking like 1, 2, 3, 4 calls a day almost for them. And like here on these days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one was a call canceled. So let's say 8. What would an additional 8 calls do for your agency? If you could close 25% of those 8 calls, that's 2 calls closed. If you have an upfront plus a retainer, which I always recommend in a minimum of 90 days, right? If you already have that, you already are going to get a 6 times return at a minimum upfront fee of 1,500, which is 3K in total. If you have 3K in total and you have 500 ad spend, you have 6 times ROAS. If you have 6 times ROAS, you already are making bucks. Like you're already doing the right things. The only thing you got to make sure is that you have such a system in place that can spit out that money pretty much for you and get you that leverage consistently and on autopilot. And if you want to do that, there's no better way, in my opinion, than to go this direction and start setting it up. So start working on your niche, your offer, your messaging. And then once you have that, turn those into ads, turn that into a lead form, turn that into a booking page that you can build, and then turn that into a confirmation page. Start closing people on a 2-call close, depending on the warmth, of course, of the leads. And you are also going to be able to book more than 196 calls for your agency if you start implementing this process. Guys, I hope this helped. Let me know if it helped by just commenting down below. Connect with me on Instagram by checking out the link in the description. If you have any questions or any topics you would like to see me cover, because we have so many things that we can go through on this YouTube channel, please be sure to let me know in the comments down below. For now, hope this helps, and see you all in the next one.